usually. Anyway, okay. Well, it is time, so I guess I'll get going. So having this training now, Julie, forced me to finish my get the rest of the bare bones together from my presentation in less than 2 weeks at the conference, which I'm always, like everything else, just hitting at the very end. So, but we've all talked about Google Maps a lot, and there are a lot of reasons people use it, a lot of good things it does, and a lot of things that you should never use it for or depend on it for. And we're going to kind of go over those, and then we're going to show the process. There are 2 different processes. One is just making a change in Google. And for all of you that use the document that I put together a year and a half ago or so, it's changed. You can actually now draw roads in. So we're going to have to update that document. And then the second one is if you are a entity who maintains data and want to get Google to consider all of your data, there is a way to submit that data to Google by becoming what they're calling, I think, is a Google partner or a map partner, and then to upload it to them for their consideration and load. And there is a specific required field content we'll go over. It's all linked, and the links are in this presentation, which I'll give to Julie and she'll send out, so you guys have those links. So anyway, why we're doing this at the Public Safety Conference is because it's probably the question that we get the most from our clients. People complaining about Google Maps. It's also unfortunate but true that there are 911 centers in the state, more than you would think, that use it as their primary mapping source. And there are mapping and CAD applications that use it as their primary mapping as well. For example, the system at St. Francis County is not their primary mapping, but their call taking, that ATOS system, and there are others like it, displays the wireless call locations that are incoming and the landlines, if they can plot them, directly on Google Maps, which is problematic. Okay, that's why they have ours, because it doesn't do these nasty things. So, okay, so we're going to just kind of move right into, these are my objectives for the set, when I'm doing this at the conference. So, we want to know why you shouldn't use it as your first mapping source for public safety. But yeah, you really do need to acknowledge that your public uses it, and they most of them will use it as their primary mapping source. It's better. Basically, I was reading some information that was really interesting, that Google Maps has 10 times as many employees as Apple Maps does. So maybe it was even a better, like they have 7,000, and I don't know, they had maybe 70, maybe it was, I don't know, it was just a small number. We need to know why errors occur in Google Maps. I think you guys as GIS experts probably understand that pretty well. Information to let people know that it doesn't matter if from a public safety perspective, if for most of the state, not all of it, if Google Maps can't find you, that does not mean that 911 can't find you, because that's always a concern. And how to share the road centerline data and even the address point data, and how to make individual corrections. Google Maps also takes other data like parcel data and landmark type data, relevant landmark type data, and building footprints. You sometimes, if you're using Google Maps, will see the outlines around buildings. Those are usually when either it's an area where Google has drawn their own, but in most cases somebody has uploaded those and they have accepted them into the system. So, okay, so we're continuing. Again, this I'm going to go through this quickly because this is stuff you guys already know. What is, this is about the local 911 data. It's created by employees or contractors who are familiar with your project area. It's probably updated pretty frequently, and when it's updated, when you did a CAD push or whatever, you got dates in the data to tell you when things were updated. It's used for a lot of things: 911 call location, address assignment, map production, vehicle writing. I already did that map book thing. CAD, and it's assumed will be used to route 911 calls. It can be maintained by anywhere from 1/2 to 5 employees, but sometimes even more than that in some of these really big areas. The coverage is usually a city, a county, or several counties. It's built to NENA, Next Generation 911 standards. Will soon be used to route calls, and it can often contain specific information relating to buildings, addresses outside of just the address in the community. It might have the type of structure, it might have hazardous content, it might have a link to a photo, it might have an owner's name, a resident's name, a contact information of some sort. All of that, our prior address that was assigned, all of that information may be contained in that database associated with the point. When you compare that to Google Maps data, we can read and are told that it was originally created with public sources and augmented by Google drivers, artificial intelligence, and users, crowdsourcing, users uploading data, and basically in self-correcting the map. But we don't really know what those original public sources are. We don't know who's updating the data. We don't know what the qualifications are of the people who are deciding whether to use uploaded data or not. Of course, I've pounded this in with everybody before, I believe, but the primary purpose is to generate revenue for Google by advertising use fees, use of their API, branded logos. Even Pokemon Go has the Google Map content in it. Businesses can pay to get their logo on the map. They can get to pay to have when you're like looking for a hotel, I look at Google Maps and you'll note that, hotel names pop up if those hotels are Google advertisers, obviously. So, it's got about 7,000 employees across the globe. It represents the entire world. Now, if you get into some countries, especially communist countries, countries like North Korea and China and places, even not India, but India's one, even though it's not communist.
Germany. Germany has no Google Street View. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, well I'm saying that. Okay, so Germany, yes, some places have blocked it. Okay, but those other places, it will tell you the brand where that map data is coming from. There are leasing arrangements that are required by that country. It's updated constantly, but without a visible schedule, and may never be updated in your area. If you don't have advertisers, it may not be in your. It's revenue driven, so it's going to make the changes and pay more attention to the revenue driving areas. The data content is limited, so it's anything beyond the roads and the public available reference data is going to be dependent on who uploads it, who provides it. It's not a guarantee you're going to have the building footprints or the address numbers floating on top of structures if somebody hasn't provided that data, or if they haven't scanned it with their artificial intelligence software to determine, and we'll talk about that, but those house numbers, not reliable. Often correct. Mine is correct on my house, the number on top of it. My county's a Google partner and they've uploaded that information, but not all of it is good. And then the Google Street View data, it's not synced with the Google Maps data when you're talking about the vintage. And I'll show you some examples of that, just some areas where you can't trust it necessarily. So Google Street View is not driven as often with, the cameras, the rotating cameras and everything, as often as the Google Streets. There's no synchronization between those layers. So when you look at Google Street View, you may see a house that's there that's not on the map or vice versa. It's not indicated on the imagery or vice versa. Any questions? Okay, and this is important. What the public understands about the differences between the locally generated GIS data used for 911 and Google. They don't understand, the general public doesn't understand. can't find me on Google, then 911 can't find me. That's the way it leaps, you know. So they don't have that very specific industry knowledge we have. Okay, so what does Google Maps have that 911 can use? What we can use in our endeavors, okay? Well, it has Google Street View. You can embed, like in our ECOP map online, which uses local data, you know, local GIS data. You can click on a location and Google Street View is embedded in it. So you can get a front look at a structure. You can see, you know, what does that structure look like? What are the you know, you can just kind of twirl and see. So it does give for certain situations where you can't find somebody, you know, whatever, they're telling you I'm in the green trailer, whatever. Now, there's no guarantee that the trailer is green on Street View or that you can even see it. It might be way down a driveway. And they're doing all of this from public roads, okay? Secondly, you get into some of our rural counties and you turn on Google Street View and you only have the highways driven. I know you guys have seen things like this. They just haven't driven those roads with Google Street View. It's not available. You don't get that blue line going everywhere, you know. So again, their policy is public roads and they choose what they drive. It's also helpful to have Google Maps if you don't have your surrounding agency data. You need to transfer a patient to a hospital somewhere from your county, out of county. You're doing a mutual aid to send responders to a big fire outside of your county, whatever. There are all sorts of reasons. It's, you know, it's helpful to be able to look up additional addresses that may not be in your data set. It labels business names. I like that even though it's just advertisers, you get some sort of context by looking at the map without a lot of complex labels. You'll get those business names and locations or civic names and locations that pop up. It's got a really good parser and a really good search engine. You know, you start putting, you know, it remembers what county I'm in. I'm looking for stuff in Newton County because I'm trying to resolve business addresses that are zeros, and I'm looking at business names. It's going to remember, it's going to find a search in that county or in the vicinity, maybe not the county. If I'm looking in Neosho, then I start putting a Seneca address in that might exist 100 places in the country or in the state. It's going to pull up one that's nearby first. So that memory that it has is also helpful. Yeah, it's spying on us. We all know that, right? But it's, you know, it's remembering our choices and things. But it is it's going to give us relevant information first. Imagery is compiled from best available sources, so sometimes it's not the most recent imagery. That's also a detraction. But because it offers different imagery that's often better than what we have, when we have an issue with, you know, trying to find something in a heavily treed county, you know, you're back in the forest in McCurtain or wherever, you know, you can look at Google Street View, Google Maps, and sometimes have a better or clearer, better resolution or better, you know, processed photo to look at. Business name search as well. And then turn by turns. You can get directions from Google. As long as Google can find your start and stop location, it will give the turn by turns, you know, from that, you know, whatever. Even if the street name has a, if you've used Google Maps and you're on it's annoying, you know, continue straight for 3 miles to stay on the highway. You know, yeah, of course I'm going to stay on the, you know, it's ridiculous, and it will have, you know, weird double, you know, where highways double up or with ramps, but you know, it does show you where you are and get you where you as long as it can find that location, usually gets you where you want to go. Now, that being said, I hike a lot, and I often navigate to conservation areas, or I look where they are and then I might need some guidance. It doesn't always know where the entrance to the park is. It doesn't know where the entrance, where you park to access a trail in a, you know, a wilderness area or a conservation area, and it may take you to the opposite side of that park, which may take you 30 minutes to drive around to the right location. it is not designed for that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be. It can do what it wants, you know, as long as people aren't complaining too much. But what happens is hikers like me fix it. They get into Google and they enter the correct, you know, the correct parking lot or whatever. And then Google's, you know, one we went to in Illinois a lot, my sister and I, it used to take, you know, there, you get to this location, it was a rural home, and there'd be a big sign. There's a big cardboard, you know, laminated sign, you know, you're obviously using Google Maps. Guess what? Hickory, you know, whatever, Piney Creek, whatever is blah, and it gave directions on how to get there. So, relies on the accuracy of the map, and you can't always count on it, which again is why you don't use it for 911, because you just can't count on it dependently. Okay, questions? Breezing through this because we're going to do some map corrections and locations.
Yeah, I've always, whenever I listen to people talk about this turn by turn, I keep thinking of The Office where he drives into the lake or whatever.
It is getting better, but I tell the story a lot, Curtis, of Perry County, Missouri. It's foothills, you know, it's hilly, but it's got this giant floodplain on the Mississippi. So you come down over this big hill, you know, you cross a big levee. These levees were reinforced after the 93 flood, and you're on this floodplain. Yeah. And there's an aircraft manufacturer down there, a Saberliner or something, and before it is a county road. Well, Google Maps has the county road offset by about a quarter mile on a private drive. And if people, they've had trucks, and it is too narrow to turn around, and you hit a gate. And I heard this from the 911 correct. This is back before you could correct it. And they eventually just put a sign, the county put a sign up, private property, this Perry County road, whatever, is 1/4 mile that way. Because, you know, you're getting these trucks and had to back up a half a mile. Yeah. You know, it's crazy, but you know, that's because they had the information incorrect. And so you're right, turn by turns, if they were trying to get to the Saberliner place, you'd probably see it. But if you weren't paying attention, as my sister and Kathleen, who was on the call, SDR support, I think she's in there listening. Kathleen uses, I mean, we travel together frequently, you know, for work and such, and others, you know, pleasure and you know, whatever. And she will use Google Maps to get to places we've been 100 times. Now, I know what you'll say, Kathleen. You want to know when we're going to get there. You want an estimated time of arrival or whatever, right? Is that what you're going to say?
Right.
It's like, and my sister, you know, we travel out. We drove 2,000 miles in California this past year, driving to all those national parks. And I'm like, don't trust Google Maps. We have fights about it, but you know,
I provide this example all the time. But if you're leaving New York City through the Holland Tunnel, when the GPS, it'll lose the GPS when you're under the Hudson River, obviously, and then it will pick it up as you get close enough to the surface on the New Jersey side, and then it will tell you immediately to turn right onto the onto the parkway that goes north out of the city, which you can't do because you're in a tunnel underwater. because the topology is the road to road topology is not good.
I can just see
or also
people,
like on the major
right
Deegan, also on the same place, there's something called the Major Deegan Expressway, which is this huge elevated highway that's like a couple 100 feet in the air that was created like in the 1930s. It has like no shoulder, you know,
oh my God.
You know, like at a time when the highway safety rules were non-existent, and it will ask you to turn left, you know, from several hundred feet below it.
Again, The Office.
Correct. Yeah, The Office. That is The Office. Driving in the river. Okay. Okay, so what does 911 need that Google Maps doesn't have? Well, a lot, but it needs the reliable structure locations. Google Map is still geocoding a lot, and often if that road is flipped or whatever, it could take you miles away. We see a lot of problems in our gridded counties. Wagner is a good example where a road east 355th Street, you know, goes 4 miles, stops for 2 miles, starts again for a couple miles, stops, starts again. Same road name, sometimes the same community, sometimes not. But if the community code is wrong on one of those, it may not match you there, and it might match you to a different segment. And often we've noticed those street ranges are just duplicated. They don't have enough, they're just a couple structures on them. There aren't a lot of structures out here, and it can really wreak havoc and really locate people miles from where they're supposed to be. So that repeated road name that's not continuous, and Newton has these too, and they're named though. It's the same kind of thing. So reliable address location in rural areas. In the rural areas, it's less likely to have the building numbers on them. And it's less likely to be updated frequently. It's less likely to have the roads drawn in correctly. And as of just a year or so ago, Montgomery County, Missouri, Google Maps still had the road numbers, and they were addressed and renamed all their roads in the late 90s.
Yeah.
So that happens. They still are showing county road numbers, even though those roads are named. It doesn't have emergency service boundaries. It has no personal land ownership information. It doesn't have what I would call a certified address. It might have the correct house number, but the street name is picked up from the road. It may be incorrect, or it may just, there's a lot of them where just the directional or the street type is incorrect. Same thing with street names. Note the example I just gave you. Depending on how frequently it's updated, you won't see the new developments that you'll get in GIS, all that stuff that we're doing in Wagner and Grady, and of course in McCurtain and Marshall, with the subdivisions, it will not show up. It will take a while before it shows up there. But in the GIS, you get that maintained by the county, you get that right away. And of course, when I say there's no interfaces, you can get the API and embed it in other applications, but just using it out of the box, it's not getting you a 911 call location, obviously. So, okay. And then I just kind of like, how can we use it at SDR? How should we use it? That I think is an important thing to use. I mean, I've already told you, you should have been listening. You can see how I'm using it. Okay, so, I'm using it for, especially in these areas where we've just worked the project or we're doing maintenance, you can reference it for a lot of reasons. I probably reference it in some of the really rural areas more to see if the imagery is better than anything else. Yeah, but you can use Street View and check the street types, street signs rather, and you can check the building, like Ryan was using it in Newton to say, hey, there are 3 points here. They say that something like that. There are only 2. And we look at it, we can tell from the street view which building is obviously the barn versus the trailer in the house, which sometimes you can't tell from just the GIS. Sometimes you can. You can. It's a good second source of potentially better aerial imagery. When I say better, it could be newer or it just could be crisper, more detailed. So.
Or like one season, they take our images, and the ones we're using is in one season of the year, and the other Google's in a season where there's no leaves on the trees.
Yes, because Google has relationships and contracts with people like Eagle View that used to be Pictometry, Microsoft. I think that's owned by Microsoft. I can't remember. And so they can incorporate those images in government stuff like you'll know, I mean, there's way better imagery along the Mississippi River than I can get from any of my counties because the Corps of Engineers flies it for the levees and the flooding and everything. So, that kind of thing. You can resolve addresses of named businesses. Like, when we have a business, it's a 0, you can look that business up and then, you can say, okay, that business says it's this address. We did that in Newton County and the county comes back, no, that's not really their address. Well, that's what they have on their website. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's right all the time. Sometimes it's just off by 2. Sometimes it's a different street. Sometimes it's just something the business made up. I don't know. But, I'd say it's right more often than not. We use it to resolve Google Maps issues for clients. And anybody else use it some other way? No. Hit them off.
Did you say resolve, use Google? I use Google Images to look at street signs and,
street signs is right there, yeah.
You said that, yeah.
Yeah, street signs, house numbers, I'm sorry, posted numbers, yeah.
You know, mailboxes, fronts of houses, anywhere you might see a number
Yeah.
posted.
Google Earth has history, so you can roll
Yeah,
back.
Google Earth, you can peel back the images, yeah. I like that a lot. What do they call that? It's not the way back, that's the web, it's anyway, but you can just go back, like you can just slide back and go to different image sources, yeah, I like
Right.
that, different image vintages. So, yeah, Google Earth I'm not even talking about, even though it's got a lot more options, we don't have as many people complaining about it, and it probably has similar map sourcing. These are the kinds of things we shouldn't accept by default from Google Maps. Number one, the house numbers. Those little house numbers that float on top of the houses that you zoom in. A majority, I think if you see a building footprint, you have a better chance of it being, and you won't see that with the imagery on. Okay, you need to have the base map to see those. It's not like it's going to convert it to an outline. It goes off with the imagery. But when you see those themselves, many of those are coming from the cities that have done building footprints, and then they have that number attached to them. But like in a lot of areas, they're using their own Google Street View images like we do to determine those numbers, and they're using artificial intelligence. Again, these are all great things, but they often get the numbers wrong. Kathleen was doing Carrollton, trying to get some data in because they didn't have any data in the city of Carrollton, Missouri, and a lot of them were just missing and wrong. You know, when you leave the city and compare to what's actually on the map, those numbers weren't always lining up at all. Street names. We went through this in Newton recently where sign says this, Google says this, county says nope, it's not lane, it's drive. We change all those lanes to drive. Sometimes it's a spelling, sometimes it's a number versus a name, but the only reliable source of the name, you know, the roads is the client themselves. You know, they are the ones that would have to go back and investigate what is correct.
It kind of raises other questions about, you know, what people are actually using.
Yeah, there's no requirement.
How
you know,
people are writing their mailing address, yeah.
You all probably know now the mail's gotten tougher, you know, but in the old days, I could just put, you know, Wedgwood, and I wouldn't have to put Wedgwood Drive. You could drop off the directional, whatever, it would still get to you. You know, if I said I have 7023 Wedgwood, you know, I'm not going to always say 7023 Wedgwood Drive, Cedar Hill. And so it gets confusing like that. But I will tell you, there's no link between the United States Post Office and 911. In Henry County, Danny, you may have seen this from the post office. This traditional Kansas City area of the county, the AMS area, it's all St. Louis now, but in the past it was Kansas City, all but 2 post offices there. They use the ordinals on the street name, 101st, 103rd, 610th Street. The St. Louis side did not, and that's correct. The county does not use them. But every single address, I'm sorry, probably 2/3, 3/4 of the rural addresses use them, and in the post office, and not in 911, not on signs, not by the official, the official addressing in the county. So yeah, even the street names that show up on signs may not be what this county thinks they should be. I'm telling you, and that's not just like they're all wrong. Like, you know, okay, it's Catherine Lane and it should be Catherine Drive, and there's a sign at each end that says Lane that should be Drive. Sometimes on the same street, sign after sign, we did a street inventory a sign inventory in Newton, and they're different. Hamilton, South Hamilton, Hamilton Street, Hamilton Avenue, Hamilton Street, whatever. But you know, it's whoever put the sign up, how much room they had, how long their blank was, what information they had to start, who did it, how detailed they were. You know, sometimes they're great, often they're not. So business addresses, go ahead.
You can find spelling differences too.
Oh yeah, we've sent a handful of those to the county and Newton too, on just spelling on the street sign doesn't, you know, it's not the same. Or it could be a person's name, JB whatever Porter, and you see it Porter in some areas and JB Porter or BS Hamilton, whatever the heck, you know, you see all sorts of differences like that. Business addresses, the business their advertising can put any address in there they want.
Yeah.
So that may be you know, they have properties across the street from each other and they both have the same address listed. So be careful about that. And then also what we see on Google Street View, and I'm going to show you an example, because this one was a problem that we had in the county. Oh, gotta find that. I think I closed it. Okay, so Clement Drive in Neosho, Missouri. We're going to go ahead and search for that. Clement Drive was one that Ryan changed because the signage and the Google Maps agreed with the parcels. Okay, so here's Clement Drive in Google Maps. And we had, I don't remember, Ryan, it was street or something. The parcels had street.
It's Clemens, right? Is that
It's
what the
Clemens with
was?
an S. Okay, yeah, let me, I've got that.
There was, I think that was, I don't remember what we actually went with, but I think that was what the problem was.
It's Clement Drive. It is Drive. I think Google Maps has it right now. But the parcels, some of the parcels, or most of them, say Clemens Street. Okay, or Clemens with an S. It's something like that. So I'm like, oh well, look, we have a street sign here. How cool! We have a street sign to tell us that's a landmark. What it really is. So I get in here and identify the street time, and it says Clemens with an S and Drive. Okay, well maybe. Then I'm thinking, well maybe Ryan and Keith, when they drove Neosho,
maybe we made a mistake.
Maybe they made a mistake. Well, let's look at Google Street View for that sign. Okay, sign sitting right there, right? So I go to Google Street View. I'm like, okay, this is easy. Oh, there's where the sign should be, right here. So I come in here. I need to find my Street View. It's covered up by it was covered up by my GoToMeeting controls. So wherever you have blue lines, when you hit the little person, if you don't use this often, that's Google Street View. That's where the photography exists. Let me check back on here. Where's my sign? My sign is there. Go back to Street View. Need to find that sign. Where's my sign? Where's my sign? There's no sign.
Well,
So
it used to be.
Is that a sign on the ground right there?
It's from 2013.
No.
The image is
Yeah.
10 years old.
Yeah, see, come down here. It's June 2013. So don't forget to check that, because it's 10 years old. They put a sign up. You know, this is what I did, and I'm like, and I didn't even know. Glenn told me about the vintage. I'm like, oh, I didn't see that. You know, and you can say report a problem. Hey, it's old stuff, but you can't always rely. So I'm like, oh well, maybe they put it on the wrong corner, and I'm driving around, you know, on my virtual car looking for that street sign. Not there. So kind of get it now. You know, it's a great tool, but it's not going to solve all your needs. So anyway, so you know.
Susan, I got a quick question.
Sure.
When you're looking at Street View, do you guys ever make a change on a structure number based on a Street View where you can actually see the numbers on the house?
I wouldn't make this, if I suspected or we were investigating that house, yes, I would, if it was one that was already brought to our attention. But I would flag it. Hey, the house has 213 posted. This says 217. Yeah, I would. I would want to make sure I'm right on the correct house. You know, you're going to have to look at your back and forth between your GIS and this. And secondly, if you're really sure, then we bring it to the attention of the client. You're looking in an area for other reasons. But I would never make that correction, because you never know what should be on that house.
And you would never do that if it was like that. It's a 0.
On a 0, I would if it made sense there.
Yeah.
On a 0, I would. That's a good point.
If you have nothing else to go on.
Yeah, if there's nothing else to go on, and it fits, it has to fit there pretty well, you know.
And you know what's really interesting about that is you look at those zeros, they've been sitting in there since 2012 or 2013. Nobody's corrected it, so why not use that information?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the things on that is that we always notate what we've done. I always say resolve with Google Street View, resolve with Google Map, and the date in my notes. That way, when it comes back, we can say this is where that 0 was resolved. Or I'll add from Google Maps. If I see something on the imagery, imagery is more likely, it's usually more recent, but I'll say added from, added from imagery and giving the date, because unless somebody's got their eyes on it or whatever, it's difficult to prove. But it is, especially with the zero, that zero is not going to be found unless it's a number. They'd have a better chance of finding it at 213 if it was 215 than if it was zero. But just make sure if you bring it in, because you've got pretty good confidence, annotate it in the notes of how you got that, what the source of the resolution was. So.
Okay, so then one last question. So when we're doing these racks and they have all these zero addresses, do we take the time to actually go to Google and Street View and all that crap to look for a zero on an address, or do we just give it back to the client and say?
Yeah, especially if it's a project that we're maintaining, like you've done you've done Cotton and Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
Both Cotton and Jefferson were counties that we mapped from scratch. So the zeros would probably be city addresses that are not posted, correct? In most cases. If you have anything in the county, it's probably something that we added from imagery that was not. We did all that mapping on the ground and we assigned addresses to all the county addresses.
Okay, all right.
The city addresses, though, we would have done what's called a windshield survey. We would have tried to get the address from posted sources as we drove. So yeah, if there's nothing on that, it's Cotton County or Jefferson. Gordon, with these two especially, because we keep them in-house, okay? Jefferson's going to be paying us for a project. We haven't approached Cotton yet for that. Cotton, we could do a small cleanup project to resolve the zeros. So I would just kind of like to maintain the original rack data you ran so that we know what the original number of zeros are if we have to give them a quote. We'll charge them for fixing them in advance, yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
Okay. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. Let's do some complaints. Well, I'm going to go show you a couple things in Google, but Amazon can't find me, FedEx can't find me, UPS can't find me, no one can find me. You Google my address, it's too far away, I'm on the wrong side of the street, you don't get any results. I'm not getting my mail, that's a good one. And our addressing is all messed up, you can't find me on Google, and that initiates concerns that 911 can't find them. So let's, I guess debunk isn't the right word, but let's rebut their claims here. On that no one can find me, people can't find me, if your address is verifiable at USPS.com, this is probably a mapping issue with the online map service. Okay, you can find it in the National Addressing Database, it just isn't mapped correctly. So it's number one. Because we can't verify what softwares these entities are using to find that address, but we know how they're verifying the address. They're verifying the address in almost all cases with the National Addressing Database that the post office is the one currently maintaining. Takes you 10 miles away, wrong road range, wrong community, road drawn in backwards, same range, it's a map error. Okay, those we can help correct. Wrong side of the road, they flip the parity on the road, or else their house just has bad parity and they're using the ranging on the road. You get nothing, usually it's a road name issue or the road doesn't exist. And it's really important to say, what does Google find? If you put your house number and your street name in and you only get a street name result, then you know that range on that road is not accommodating your house number. Not getting my mail, call the post office, not related to Google at all. This one I've got on the next page. This is, my diatribe on if, you can't find me on Google. Google's a for-profit institution whose revenue is based on selling advertising and extended services, Its primary purpose is providing driving directions for the general public and getting you to visit the businesses that pop up along your route, okay? So, you can just go on through here. These are all kinds of things that are reasons that, you're just because Google can't find you does not mean, or you can't find yourself on Google, does not mean that you are not locatable in the 911 system. That takes you back to what the public knows about how those maps are created. You know, very, very little, if not nothing.
Yeah, I had a guy in Newton in Neosho stop me, stop us. Like
Yeah.
we were on a suburban, like one of these new suburban tract housing.
Glenn and I did
neighborhoods.
too, same kind of
And
thing.
he's like
Yeah.
asking what we were doing. Like he wasn't being unfriendly. And you know, we told him, and he said, you know, that's all available for free on the internet.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And
Exactly.
we say Google gets it from us.
Yep. No, yeah, it's crazy. Well, here are the unknowns. What is the true source of the map data? What's the vintage of the data? Yeah, you can find the data. You can look at, you know, like you said, it's going to be in small print somewhere. So, you know, we'll adjust that. How often is it updated? Well, they haven't driven streets in Neosho for 10 years. And what kind of research goes into accepting a map correction or addition? That's a big one. I mean, you know, anybody can submit a change. It's crowdsourced.
That's a big one because Glenn, when I first started out there in Lawrence with him, he had submitted a whole bunch of changes to Google in a batch file, and they never entered it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, you don't know what they're going to, and the thing is, we're going to show in just a minute what their rules are, like what data they'll accept from when you upload all your data at once. And so that's a good one for us to take a look at. We're going to go back and just kind of look at some examples now and show you how to fix things in Google if you haven't done this before. A lot of you have, I know that. So did I pick it? Wagner, Oklahoma? That does not look like Wagner, Oklahoma. Well, this is weird. Okay, so that's a house I just added. Okay, now I see where I am. It just looks, the imagery that I have for Wagner County was flown so late in, I mean, you know, it's beautiful imagery that they flew when there were no trees and no grass. And so I'm looking at that going, that's not the right place. This is it right here, isn't it? This house right here. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So this house right here is one that we recently added. We recently added the address for that structure, but that structure was an existing structure. Okay. So when I look for 7128, whatever that road is, something court on Google Maps, places it up here. Well, I guess, where's it placing it? Where's my little red thing, guys?
You're looking for the man?
The locator. No, I'm looking for the locator. Oh, this place, Spoonbill Place. Okay. Well, it's placing it right. I guess that's it, because see, I've got these other locators here. Usually you get a little red thing. Where is it? Where's my guy? You know what I'm talking about, guys?
You mean like the little chevron that locates here?
It shows where we are.
Yeah, the
Yes.
little teardrop that has nothing but
Yeah,
a
yeah,
circle in it.
It's not
I don't
showing.
know. Looks like
Not showing.
JavaScript died. Try refreshing
Yeah,
Google Maps.
yeah, I'll just close it and just go back. Yeah, I could refresh, but I'm just, yeah. It was working
think it's
last night. It just
I think
keeps
it's
moving
I
there.
think it's put in the generality.
Yeah, this is the road. Last night when I did this, it gave me a little, I'm going to go to the second one just to see if it's the map. This is in
Try a
Clinton.
different browser, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could just try. Right, and explore. Here, we'll just
Or
do
using Edge or something.
Okay, so this would be Google Maps. I never use it on this computer, on this browser, obviously. Well, why isn't it? Is my internet going down? What the hell is going on? Okay, just taking a darn long time to do anything. Okay. Okay, so this one didn't put the pin on the map either.
What?
Google's down. I
What
need
is
a
going
pin to
on?
move the pin. What is going on?
Doesn't want
That
to
is
cooperate.
weird.
Oh, wait a minute.
Well, we know what you're talking about.
Well, I was going to show you how to move the pin. I can't move a pin if there's no pin to move, because it puts the pin right here for the, okay. In this
I
case, what
see,
it was
because
doing,
you can change the, you can ask Google to
yeah,
change
it
what
was
it's geolocating.
the house plot's right here. Okay, I did this last night, and then this is where the house actually is down here. I was going to show you to move the pin down. So, well, you know, when you get in here, you can just do suggest and edit. Okay, confirm or fix this location. So that's probably what we would want to do in the case if the pin was up here and we wanted to pull it down here, you would say confirm or fix this location. And so it, you know, the address is okay, so we're fine with that. No, didn't even. Okay.
Did you do that the other night?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I just
I don't know
looked
why
at
that
it.
thing's not there then.
Yeah. We could, how about somebody else share their browser and we'll do it on yours? Julie, you want to open up your browser instead and just, I'll just make yourself the presenter
Yeah, that's fine.
and I'll chat you the address, okay? That work for you?
Yep, I'm getting it going right now.
Okay. We'll just get Susan, you know, off this whole thing and let me chat you the. That's just bizarre. My computer's running slow and weird too. Julie. Okay, Julie, I have messaged you that address.
Okay, so it kind of plotted right there.
Yeah, but you don't have it. There it is. There's your little pin. Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to do to try the confirm or fix this location. Yeah, no. It says fix this location. So try suggest and edit. Suggest and edit. I know it's already there. It's on the drop down on the front now. See? On the left column, suggest and edit. It's showing up there. Yeah. Now we want wrong pin location or address. Okay, so you can now go to the map. You just scroll down and see that map there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to. Okay, so what you're going to do is it lets you zoom in. Okay, and can you put the imagery on? Yeah, no? There you go. Now zoom out. We've lost it. Okay. Okay, that pin. Oh, okay. So as you move, the pin moves. Okay, zoom in a little bit and just move the pin into the middle of the clump of trees there. Yeah.
So like this clump
You
of
can
trees?
just grab it and drop, grab it and drop. Yeah, just move the map to where the pin should go. Yes, right there. That's where that structure is. So now you have moved the pin to the address is correct. You have now said this is where that actually goes. You've refined the position of that. Sometimes they're way, way off. Danny's done these where you're going to move, I'm sure Curtis has a couple miles. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, but you want to fix the address too. If the address is wrong, like if it's showing the wrong road name or whatever. So then you would just hit the save, Julie, and it will say thank you for now. And then the submit. If the address is right, then you hit the submit. Now, they will communicate with you via your address that you're logged in with on Gmail. You know, that you're logged into your Chrome with or whatever. They'll confirm by email. They won't do it right away, but when they fix it, you know, they'll confirm and send something to you about it. So yeah. Okay, but that's how you move a pin. All you do is you kind of move the map so the pin is centered on the right location. Okay. If you do the add a missing place, like if let's say you have a new house that hasn't been put on the map yet, Danny, this is Henry County. Can you pull up the most recent address you did in Henry County? You have it open?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, and then Julie will.
Well, you know, let me find.
Yeah, Danny's muted and Glenn's talking. Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
So yeah, so just
Can you bring
Danny's
up
going to give you an address in Henry County.
that little window behind it? that, yeah, okay, it really wants you to.
You got one, Danny?
Hold on.
If you want
I'm
to just
opening
chat
it
it to me, that's fine. Yeah.
for
You
the,
can just add it now.
Let me see what my, hold on one.
We're gonna, on this next one, we're gonna actually create a new location for a newly placed structure that should not be on the map of the, already.
Already, yeah.
What do you think Danny's doing?
Probably waiting for his map to
Think he's
come
going to the back? He's probably waiting for his map to open. You're right. Actually, I think I had a new road here on my thing. Okay, look up 399 Northeast 1051 Road. It should come up as Calhoun. Yep, got that. Okay, so it's actually a point just north of it. See that point there? Go north. That point right, so drag it up. So make your correction to drag it up to that big trailer there, or big whatever, the house. Yeah. You're getting good at this, Julie. Okay, now the next problem, and just leave it, okay, just save it. The next problem is that that's really a private road. Okay, so we'll have to add a road.
So do we need to change the address here?
Yeah, no, not yet. Go ahead and submit, just go ahead, yeah, I could give you the name. Okay, now we're going to add a missing place, and it should let you do a road. So let's see, that's not it, cancel, cancel, cancel. I just did this last night. Oh, I thought it was at a missing place. Just suggest an edit. See if it says anything with like a new road or something. Add or fix a road. There you go. Then start at the house and just draw along the driveway. It actually looks like it's got a road there already.
Yeah.
Maybe I did add it last night, but you didn't see it before though, did you?
No, but do you think it would have gone that quickly if you just did it last night?
No. But that was weird when you before you did that road was not there. Yeah, just do that. Just drag along here. Maybe it's just showing the driveway. Yeah. You can click each time. You can like draw it like you do in yeah. So it actually put it all in. It's smart enough to follow the imagery. Okay, so now you need to. It will be a road name. Hit road name. I'll tell you the road name. The road name is Northeast 388 capital P Road. P for private.
So private road here, mark road is private.
Yep. No, there's no space between P and 388. Yep. Okay. Private road. More detail would be your range. Okay. So I'm going to give you that. It will be 1031 to 1045. That will encompass it all. 1030 to 1045. Okay, and then when you're done, you're done. See, so that would be how you would put the road in. It's really, I think if you get into this, don't play around. You can go ahead and save that one, yeah. Don't play around with it and add things that are wrong. But if you legitimately have you have a new road or you have an edit that involves an address, now we need to change that address, by the way.
Yeah.
Now we put, that's, and again, I can have Danny do that, but then you go back and you would actually change the address. And the new address for this one is, just keep the location correct. And the new address is 1037 Northeast 388 P Road. Yep. Calhoun is correct. Yep, that's it. So.
All right, Danny sent me one. Do you want me to look at the one that Danny sent?
Sure, sure. I sure will.
What is it? Leeton? Is it Leeton, the city?
Leaton.
Does this look correct? I mean, I know nothing about this area.
And move it because those red little pings are not showing up for some reason. I don't know. I think Google might have a glitch going on because they picked during our training because I'm bad mouthing them to do this. It's my computer's listening to me and it knows.
Yep.
And they've got everybody on call pegged out.
Is
Okay,
it,
that's okay, Julie. I think it's pretty clear, guys. You know, as soon as you locate the address, you're going to have, you know, you get a pin on the map or a location, you're going to have these options here. When you say add a missing place, they're looking for a business name or a park name or something like that. Usually, it's usually not an address. So you want to go to the suggest and edit where you're going to find most everything you need. Okay. I want to show, Julie, would you make me presenter one more time? I want to show real quick the last piece, which is how we upload data. And I'll give you guys you'll all have this as well. So, when we're doing it for a client, we establish a Gmail account that refers to us and the client. We don't have to have our name on it, but it's helpful. So we establish a Gmail account for them because that will the updates will go to that Gmail account, and then we're not asking for you to monitor your own Gmail accounts. You will always remove all the personal data. You will want to remove any names, phone numbers, email addresses, any notes that are specific. You know, you may just remove all notes. There's no reason for them to have our notes and comments. Here is the link that gets you to the for some reason, since I'm not. I have to copy this because I'm not in the active display mode. And you'll have this link. So basically, make your geospatial data accessible. These are map content partners, okay? And it's going to go down. It's going to say who they partner with, and then the data types that they're going to accept. So right here, new roads, addresses, and points of interest. Okay. And then I'm trying to see the create. This last night. They could let me touch. I got all the way into this last night, so I don't think I signed in. I apologize, everybody. I really need to show you this. Okay, content requirements right here. Okay. Okay, this is where we get fun. Address points. Here are your required fields. Street number, apartment number, building name if they have that. These are the required is street number, street name, that's everything all together, the street name and the street type. Okay. Expansion of abbreviation is preferred. City is required, state is required. Zip is required. Got to have those zip codes, which is a problem for a lot of our counties. They don't have them. They don't even have the postal communities. Okay. So that, kind of throws a wrench into uploading a lot of the things that we have. Now, if they have a mismatch with something we give them to what they think is correct, they're not going to necessarily take our data. And I think they actually scrub it and load it so that they actually will not. Do we have another call now, Julie?
Yeah, we can wait though. We're good.
Okay. I'm sorry, because I'm almost finished here. So, they're not going to necessarily take the data. They might take some of it and not all of it. Okay, so road center lines. Remember, road center lines are used for routing, new roads, and bicycle paths. street name, street, you know, whatever. Then they need the city, state, and zip is preferred but not required. The ranging is actually optional. Now that makes no sense to me, but maybe they don't really geocode. Maybe they are just mainly using the houses for that. Who knows? You know. Speed limit's optional, but I have been told that if you include it, you have a better chance of the data being used because they use it for routing decisions, you know, kind of thing. So you're going to basically be taking everything out of your data except for what they're asking for here. So it's pretty easy just to strip the data down. If you hide fields and then export to shapefile to shape, remember, you only get the fields that are actively displayed on that output. So that's really the easiest way to do it. Hide everything but what you want to see, export it, then unhide all. Questions about that? Again, we're not going to make you do this and then not give you instructions and help you with it. But and the state of Oklahoma is partnering with Google, and they are submitting the roads that we're updating with the remediation. So when we send it to Oklahoma on a quarterly basis, they have that relationship with Google and they're pushing the data out. But in other states, that's not established yet.
Okay, that means, that's what I'm trying to find out. We're doing all this to do what? Are we selling this service? Are we adding it to our existing?
We're not,
their
you know,
clients, I guess, right?
we're adding the service of pushing data out to Google for clients whose data we maintain, and it's not going to be cost anymore, but we'll do it once a year. Data we maintain, and they have to have those postal codes and their addresses. But, you know, we're not making any guarantees that it's going to get used. If they ask us to share it, we will share it. And we have had, I know, Dunklin and Henry and Carol, and I think others that have, and McCurtain, that have asked us to do that, and we have done that for them. So again, it's not something you're going to be liable to, you know, held responsible to do at any specific time. They ask us to do it, we do it. Oklahoma's will stop Curtis, I was thinking of McCurtain, Curtis from Curtin, because once we get the data submitted to the state, it will just be it will pass from the state to Google all in the same format, and that's how they prefer to do it.
Right, I understand that, but I'm understanding for Oklahoma, but I didn't understand what this training was about, whether we were adding on this task.
Yeah. We are not adding a service where we're going to put everything into Google. Okay, we're not adding that. We are doing it, and we have been doing it for our clients for some time if they have a problem. It's got to be a persistent problem. I know that Kathy and other people, you know, other clients we work with, Kathy and Newton, does it for every address we assign. She goes in and adds it. But I have clients who, you know, and I always distribute the directions on how to do it, and I will update the directions with the new interface. But if there's somebody that they're trying to help out, like this person is not getting ambulance, you know, there's something that's happening, like an ambulance service coming from out of town, prescriptions aren't getting sent because their address is not in the database, and we're actually adding it to the USPS database. It's just an additional service for the client to be able to help them resolve problems. This is, you know, big problems. I'm not talking about so-and-so's complaining because their house is in the wrong, you know, location in Google. The commissioner calls me, I'm going to do it. You know, it's not something we can accommodate for everybody. What I do is I give them the directions on how to give to the people. And Wagner County is now distributing that with every address to everybody. If you want it in Google, load it in Google. But we take care of our customers. That's what's important. This presentation was designed for a different audience and adapted to you guys. It was adapted for these counties out there that are dealing with all these residents. But again, we deal with them too. And also the big takeaway I think on this is just an understanding of what is in Google that we should use and what is in Google that we shouldn't use and why it's like that. I mean, it's a useful tool. Any of the online mapping sources are useful, but they're not the end all say all. Okay. If you're your client, you have a client that we're providing that update to Google service, you know who you are because you've been asked to do it already. It will come up again, and there's no reason somebody that's not maintaining the data can't do it. But it is a good reason to always keep your, for one of the many reasons to keep your data backed up so that when we need to pull the data, we get the most recent data set.
Well, for instance, I just had one that kept coming back, and it had to do with the subdivision. When they put it in, Glenn asked them, we're going to have to carry the street name down from the subdivision above you on the north side. And he says, that's impossible because I got a barrier up to keep them from doing that. Well, when Google put it in, they continued the name all the way through the subdivision.
Right. Yep.
So then when you come back to this thing to try to do the work on the road, they don't have a split. You have to take the whole road out and start it all over again.
And put 2 roads in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not an easy tool to kind of get around.
No, I know it's not easy. It's what we have. And McCurtain, those kinds of things that could be a public safety issue. That will, Curtis, where we're working on that resolution of errors and stuff in McCurtain so we can get the data pushed up to the state. Once we get it pushed up to the state and they pass it on to Google, Google will be loading these things. It's going to go away in Oklahoma. That's the good news. Missouri's way far away from that. Yeah.
I understand that, but I was just giving you an example.
Yeah.
Not really
right. Oh, no, I you're right. Like putting that road in that Julie did was one thing, but actually redrawing 2 roads, especially if they're complex roads and everything, it can get really dicey.
And doing it with the right sequence.
Yeah. Oh, Curtis, I don't want your job, let me tell you. Yeah, he's like, great. Job security for me, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hope that this was helpful. Julie's been recording. She'll, of course, post the recording. I will come back. I'm going to update this once I get feedback. I expect that this will be a popular session. I don't know because it depends on when they have me scheduled, and be a lot of people who are interested in learning how to do this. And the more we educate our clients, the better off we are at not having to answer these questions constantly, which we do, all the time. So right now I'm dealing with even more fun issues of St. Louis Post Office not taking the Kansas City data correctly. So, anyway, it's just a mess. So,
hey, Susan, I also saw when I was in Missouri, we went around those conferences all the time working with CAD and all that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found that in Missouri, a lot of times these counties want money for that data.
Oh yeah, they do. And that's changed. That the nice thing is that it's changing because of the current environment of geospatial and the prevalence in the world. But there are still some that want it. And Kansas is the same way. They want money for especially for parcels. So it comes down to what is the public safety benefit here, benefit to the constituents, being able to get their packages better, and that's really where it comes down to, but it's not our decision. We don't ever do this unless we're asked to do it. I'm not going to go up and start addressing, just adding locations to Google for a county just because I'm, doing addressing. They'd have to write that in a contract, and it would have to be, a nice line item increase for us to do something like that. So. Okay, thank you. Well, guys, if there are any questions, you can ping me later. We've got another call. I don't know who's on it, but I'll stay on Julie, it's Teams call, right?
Yep, just you, me, and Glenn. But your class is at 9:30 on Tuesday.
Oh, good. That's perfect timing.
Before
they'll all be. We'll have breakfast
before exhibition.
Yes.